You feel that?
Yeah,
Up
yeah.
here.
Yeah. All right, so welcome to the Videography Network podcast. Today, my guest is the fantastic Vonnie Lea. How are you doing, Vonnie?
Good, thank you.
Fantastic.
Thank you very much.
Fantastic. Thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you for having me. I get to leave my little booth.
Absolutely, yeah. We were talking off camera about how voiceover can be kind of a lonely place because it's just you and your voice.
Yeah.
But it's great to see you. It's great to have you.
Thank you.
So today we want to talk about quite a few things. We want to talk about you and how you became a voiceover artist. And I know that's only one part of your bigger picture that you do. Also want to talk about the sort of things that videographers, video production companies, when they come to you, let's like save them some time, save you some time. I know when we first started working together, it was a case of I sent you an email and it was almost like, oh, hey, we need a voice. Can you do this? And I just sent you the script.
Yeah.
And that was obviously a massive no-no because there's so much more to it. So let's start there. What do videographers need to bring to your door for you to for them to get the best out of you?
Yeah. It's interesting because as I've developed as a voiceover artist, I've also realized how sometimes inefficient we all work together because it's one freelancer versus one contractor versus another one, all trying to service the same client. And for if it's possible, obviously, in terms of budget constraints and time constraints as well, I would always say try and bring the voiceover in as early as possible.
Yeah.
Because then the kind of multi-layered re-explaining of what needs to happen can happen right at the beginning.
Yeah.
And when even in the script writing stage, if you've got a script writer that's in on this project, getting that voiceover to really understand, what the product is, where the emphasis needs to be, where the sale needs to be, versus, here's just more informational, here's the padding type of thing. That saves so much time at the end, I think, because I sometimes think, especially when you're just employing a freelancer to jump on the project, I always feel like you're treating it as a lot of voiceovers feel like they're treated as an add-on.
Yeah.
Right at the end.
Actual part of the production itself.
Yeah. So it's like, I don't know, the project's been going on for 6 months.
Yeah.
And then the week or two, the deadline is due. Let's find a voiceover artist.
Yeah,
and
guilty. We've done that before.
And then by then, it's like, this is Tuesday. I need it tomorrow.
Right.
So it makes life very difficult for voiceover artists. And, I don't think anyone turns around and says, just because I'm paid for this particular project, I don't want to be involved earlier on.
Yeah.
I think that's a misconception because it's great to feel like you're part of the journey and to really understand the product. And I think if we're all servicing the same client as well, the client really feels like it's a team that they would like to use again. And it makes life so much easier because on top of just delivering the work itself, you have relationships to deal with. Some people you work with really, really well and life's easy and you seem to just be able to understand and pick, read between the lines and know what it is that they want. And other relationships are really hard. And we have to think about it. It's the same for our clients as well. They're not always happy working with certain people, but they find life a lot easier with others. Let's make it easier for them to choose us all over again. So we want that team all over again.
And I remember in our early days, obviously, we probably did. We would, as I say, we were guilty of just sending you a script.
Which is fine.
Yeah. But we developed that relationship between us as well, where it was, okay, we know Vonnie will be perfect for this project. Yeah. And they would always ask for a few, but we would say, here's a few. And I think this is the one we would prefer. But, sometimes it is just not the right voice and someone's after a specific thing. What I loved about our relationship as it developed, I remember you offer like a test. How do you call it? It's like a test with the client. You can actually call them and give them a run through.
Yeah, like a live directed session.
So is that something you introduced recently, or how does that work?
I love live directed sessions because then you just don't have to worry about, the emailing back and forth, the Microsoft Team notes. Client says chirpy, chirpy to her, him, you, I is like completely different to our ears. So if they're in my ear and they're on the other end hearing what they can hear, I'm in their ear, they can tell you exactly there and then, the type of tone that they want, the pace that they want.
Yeah.
And sometimes I find with live directed sessions, they start off leading, they have an idea in their head and then actually ends up, they just let you lead anyway because they're like, oh yeah, I can kind of see how this is working. Yeah,
you become the director yourself.
Yeah. And things just move so much smoother. It's so much easier to deliver because at the end of the day, what we're trying to do is to deliver a product.
Yeah.
Right? So
the voice of the product.
The whole product, the video, the voice, the music, the visuals, everything about it. So it's not, I think for us, we need to stop seeing each other as kind of individual components that we, all of it does come together as a package. And I think if we just brought each other in kind of a little bit earlier.
Yeah, I remember quite a few projects we've worked on where we've just done everything except for the voiceover.
Yeah.
And without that direction, it's pretty useless video. You were so important.
I remember my first few reads. So I was kind of lucky getting to voiceover. It was just a matter of right place, right time, because I was copywriting before I did voiceover work.
Yeah.
And it was for a huge landscape company that services all the Queen's properties.
Wow, okay.
And they gave me this script and it was all to do with grass.
Yeah.
And I read it, but I literally read it like it was a book. And got this feedback from the client, which was just like, well, I could have read that.
Yeah.
And you just think, well, I don't know what else, I don't know what else to give this piece of paper because, I have no context. There's no visuals. I don't know where you are. I don't have, any information about the pace.
Yeah, the brand as well.
The brand, how quick you want me to go. And, so that, because of my inexperience, was a real learning process because really we should have covered that all before I'd even recorded, gone into the recording booth. And then we're wasting each other's time and then no one feels like we're getting anywhere. And it's just like, oh, for God's sake, when you begin, you always start cheap, don't you?
Yeah, absolutely.
So you go for somebody who's cheap, somebody who, may not have the experience that will take on any kind of work. And I think as you become better at what you do, you start to know, what you need to know.
Yeah, absolutely. I was going to talk a little bit about how we met. So we actually met through social media when one of right in the early days, we started getting a lot of requests for voiceover artists. And the first place I turned to, I think, was LinkedIn. There might have been some Facebook out there as well. And what really stood out with yourself to us was that you were very out there on social media, very not just vocal, but actually you were using video. You were filming yourself in the booth and you were all over social media. And it worked so well as having obviously a fantastic service that you delivered. It just helped us so much. So how has video helped you to increase your brand?
I think when you are a voiceover artist, you're kind of almost selling just one element. Straight away, people just think, okay, I don't need a voice. So, park. I think video engages people in such a way where it's like, okay, I don't need a voice, but actually that was quite funny. And, I didn't know that. And, like the warm-up exercises that we did, not many people find it funny that you have to pull faces, they have to make funny noises, it's just something that's entertaining. And I think we do cross over because, we do sell things with our voice. We do provide educational content, but actually people do forget that when it comes to voiceover acting, that a lot of it is just entertainment. People always say after I explain what it is I do that, oh, can you do accents?
Yeah.
What accents can you do?
Yeah.
And it's like, I'm actually really bad at accents, but I can do them.
Yeah.
How many languages do you speak? Suddenly, and I think with video, kind of putting a face to a voice and actually seeing the fact that, oh, it's not just a voice, is it? There is a person behind that.
Yeah. I think with video, you can see the expressions as well. You can see the emotion.
I mean, I've done some crazy things in the booth just to be able to get
to pronounce and
some things out. You know, some things I've done in German. I don't speak German, but I said I don't speak German, but the client insisted that they wanted my voice and that they quite liked the weird German accent.
Yeah.
I was like, okay, really?
Fantastic.
In Thai, you know, so you do Spanish, so you do get crazy things. And now, you know, probably 80% of my work are from American clients. And I just have to double check that they definitely want me to put on an American accent.
Yeah, yeah.
It's like, really? Do you not want to use somebody who's local, who's, you know, native?
Yeah. But
they hear what they hear.
Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. When I'm obviously as a video editor and a videographer, I sometimes outside of work, I get sick of video editing. So I used to have a YouTube channel where I used to review comic books, right? And it was my joy. And then I started doing video production for a living, and it's like, I'm not editing any videos.
Exactly
right?
What you're saying.
And so I'm going to put this to you bluntly, but do you ever get sick of your own voice?
Oh my God, yes. Yes. There's times when, especially if I've done an audiobook.
Yeah. Oh, wow. Yeah.
And they are heavy because not only are you narrating, but sometimes you're also directed by chapters and paragraphs and you just I have a sticker for when my kids know that I'm having silent evenings or silent weekends. Yeah. And I just don't want to talk.
You just don't come out your booth.
I don't speak to my friends. I get phone calls or voice notes where I'm just like, I'm off the grid.
Yeah, yeah.
Just don't want to talk. I just don't want to hear myself anymore. Yeah. Just like all day.
And mentally as well, it's quite draining, is it?
It's very draining. Yeah, especially if you've got the cans on.
Yeah.
And all you can hear is yourself.
Yeah.
And you become almost like insular in this world. When you're practicing for a game, actually, whenever I think, you know, whenever I feel really drained, is when I become a character, you know, Anna the soldier from, you know, 1950s or whatever. And I'm in it, I'm in the script, I'm, you know, doing all the acting. And then I come out of it, I feel like I've been in that battle.
Wow.
And I'm knackered.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, because I've been climbing up this hill and being fired on, you know, all these things. And by the end of it, I'm just like, oh my God, I've literally been through the wars.
Over and over again. A little bit like an actor or actress then. Yeah. Who's had to do the same scene over and over.
I'm not an actor. I'm not a trained actor. So I couldn't tell you what it's like to, say, be on stage or be behind camera. But I do wonder whether, because we're only providing the scenes with our voices, whether we have to like over provide
the imagination. Yeah it's like even harder on the brain because you're having to fill in the gaps that an actor or actress has in front of them, I guess.
I mean, one of the really interesting things about my line of work is I think because I love the niche that I'm in, and I found the niche. Well, I didn't find the niche found me. So I, you know, when I first started off doing voiceover work, like everyone else, I thought to myself, I'm going to be hired by these big studios, get sent all over the world and play these characters, you know, and that's the glamorous side of it. And yes, there is work like that. But what I found is perhaps it was my voice, or perhaps it was just the way my business went. But I got into the fintech space. So everything that I do now is so cutting edge. That is, I signed so many NDAs that I can't.
You can't share it.
I can't put anything out anymore. You know, whereas back in the day where I was doing more, you know, just more kind of just
like corporate stuff and
you know, things that nowadays it's like, it's NDA, can't talk about it until you sign it, and then once you sign it, you can't, no marketing material.
That's hard.
So I host a podcast as well called The Tomorrow Farm.
Yes, you do.
That merges science, agriculture, and technology to answer really pressing humanitarian issues. Sustainability, climate change, poverty and nutrition, you know, two words that don't go very well together, but there is this movement, I suppose, where yes, the undeveloped world still need nutrition, and how do we provide that, and how do we keep feeding an overpopulated planet,
the planet,
and where do we go from here? So space farming, vertical farming, hydroponics, things like that. So really fascinating subjects.
Yeah, like futuristic.
But a lot of the stuff is also NDA. So
how do you make a podcast on a lot of NDA issues?
Well, a lot of things are internal.
Right.
And then the stuff that we put out is
the rest.
Is the rest of it.
Right.
Yeah.
And tell me about being a podcast host. What we've seen a boom in podcasts for obvious reasons in the past, maybe the last 5 years. It's been. I don't think it's been bigger than it is right now.
Well, it came in and then it kind of died a death.
I remember,
didn't it?
Yeah.
It was like really not cool.
Yeah.
Nobody listened to it. Well, people did, but nobody cool listened to it. It was just like for this like really geeky kind of subsector of
like super fans of the individuals.
Yeah,
but
exactly.
Outside of that.
And then now it's become a lot more mainstream, hasn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. Maybe with the introduction of Spotify over the last however long that's been going for, and it's just more accessible. I remember back
Amazon,
in the day.
So I think Amazon has a lot to do with that, with Audible.
Pushing it out.
Yeah.
What are the challenges you faced because it's very closely related to the voiceover artist side of what you do. What challenges have you faced as a podcast host?
I think the difference with getting in a booth to become a character, as a podcast host, they are hiring me. They're hiring, your presentation skills and also your relationship skills. You'll know because you do this, but trying to get answers out of somebody when you're leading the question.
Yeah.
This can sometimes be quite difficult.
Definitely.
So you've got, you'll have a script and you have like a structure of where you want to go and what you want to cover.
Yeah.
But sometimes your guest can go off on a tangent.
Yeah.
And, and if I think anyone that works in podcasts know, like 45 minutes is the holy grail.
Yeah.
Anything longer is just too long.
Too much.
So 45 minutes, an hour, trying to get all the content in.
Yeah.
And then you also want to keep your listeners engaged. So you want to, punch every 6 or 7 minutes or so with golden nuggets, aha moments, wow, I didn't know that.
Could have done with all this information before we started recording, to be fair. So
as a podcast host, you're kind of hired not only to be the voice, you also have to be the face. You have a guest.
You have to have some personality.
Do you have to have
interest in the topic?
I think you
can't just do anything.
I think you'd have to be either a celebrity or very, very good at
a chameleon.
Yeah, general knowledge to be able to, ask the questions that need asking. I don't think I could sit in front of a doctor of biology and talk about.
We've done a lot of videos in the manufacturing space, and it's always difficult because nobody really wants to be on the camera in these places. But we've done some interviews where it has been quite painful, and I've had to really press on the questions.
Yeah.
We might have turned up with 5 questions, and by the end of it, it's like, oh wow, we didn't get anything there. So I've had to go off script. And that works quite well. And I guess it's the same with your podcast.
Skill. Yeah, it's a skill trying to get you know the answer you want.
Yeah.
It's just getting that person to say it without realizing that that's what you want them to say. Because the worst thing you can do as well is to give your guests a script.
Oh yeah.
Because then they come across really wooden.
Yeah, absolutely.
Very nervous.
Yeah.
And you can hear the kind of shakiness in the voices.
It's not natural, is it?
It's not natural.
You can tell as a viewer that you're being sold to.
Massively. So my kids and I listened to a podcast yesterday, and it was a kids. It's called Brains On. I'm not sure if I'm allowed to say that.
Right.
But I asked them after the first chapter, like, did you sound, were you engaged in that? Because it's a really interesting subject about space travel. No, because we could hear all those kids were just acting.
Right, yeah.
It wasn't natural.
They were being told to read certain paragraphs and things.
Yeah.
I guess with space travel, getting kids to recite that kind of stuff, it needed a script.
Yeah, and I think it just felt like it's patronising.
Yeah.
Well, just because we're children, we have to, make things really patronising.
Well, that's good. That means your kids have switched on. We need more of those in a world like what we're living today with all the
100%.
fake stuff that...
Oh, no. I'm such an advocate of kind of getting them thinking about like real life situations.
Yeah.
And I think a lot to do, my line of work is my passion. I love the sector that I'm in. I really believe that there is space for technology and humanity.
Yeah.
It's just that we're at this like, almost like cusp of trying to balance that.
Yeah.
Where we still keep our humanity and our connections.
Yeah.
But the technology is there to aid us, to help us. At the moment, I think we are just trying to find that rebalance, and especially the couple of years that we've had. I don't know how it's affected your line of work, but with voiceover work, it's just completely changed our industry.
Yeah,
it's
absolutely.
Polarized everybody.
Yeah, it's made it a lot more competitive because a lot of the work that was out there has been taken from us almost, but there's been new areas and new work that has been created. So it's like a scramble to replace what you've lost with the stuff that existed before, but also these new things like virtual events and things like that. I know we're kind of coming out of it now, but no one really believes that it's completely gone, do they? And not to drag this down into a very negative subject, but there is a bit of a dog eat dog thing going on out there in video production. I remember in the heat of the pandemic listening to a caller on the radio that was a video production owner, and he said, right, I've lost everything. All my events have been cancelled for the year. My business has gone under. And I was on my way down to London with another videographer driving to a job, and we were just looking at each other like, oh wow, okay, this could be us. Thankfully it isn't. We've continued to work, and you just had to adapt. This is like every industry. Some maybe less than others, but it's been crazy.
I remember when we first got the message of lockdown and everyone just had to work from home. I remember, because I'm part of obviously some networking groups, Voiceover networking groups, as well as I'm also kind of on the books of some agencies. And I spoke to one of the directors who also do live direction as well as book voiceover artists on, and the influx of actors, traditional actors, that suddenly saw voiceover work as one way of replacing their income. And many of them haven't left because they realized that, I can work from home. I don't need to get out of my pajamas. I can just service my clients, still do acting, still do what I love. And I don't even, literally don't even need to leave my bedroom. And there was this like moment of, oh my God, it was already a very, very competitive industry. And now it's like, it's just hit the fan, because now everyone is a voiceover. Literally every Tom, Dick and Harry.
We actually recently hired a journalist that I knew of because it's a local journalist, does a lot of the sports stuff. We hired him for a voiceover that we put a bit of a call out for a local Leicester voice. And of all the people that applied, the client went for him. So that just shows, I would never have thought of him as a voiceover actor, but it's something he's moved into. I think he's very new to it, but
exactly like what you said, we've just had to change and adapt. And, luckily for me, I was already really organically moving away from commercials. I don't know how it happened, but I was starting to get more embedded into kind of a client's projects. It was getting a lot more tech-based, a lot more tech-heavy, so software, SAS products, virtual reality, artificial intelligence software. So there is a lot of things going on in the background where, yes, it can create fear, because the idea that robots can take over our jobs, because it's one conversation that a lot of voice actors are having now. Because it's so good now. One thing that the robots couldn't mimic a few years ago, which was inflection and emotion, because sometimes you hear on YouTube videos, don't you? The ones that talk like this. And number one on this top 10.
On TikTok as well. I think on TikTok, it's actually a trend to use that voice.
It is. There's a song, isn't there? A song. Where it's all from that voice. So there was this fear factor of, oh my God, our jobs are going to be completely obliterated. But actually, if you come out of the ecosystem and actually, have a real look at what's happening in the background, not so much commercial stuff, not even corporate really. You're talking real, internal back end kind of things that are not very glamorous. But there's shed loads of work, training, education.
Absolutely.
I talk about VR quite a bit because VR is probably the main bulk of my work now.
Right. Yeah. It seems to be like a big boom for that.
Huge. Huge. And, things that are just so obscure. I'm now an expert in lift engineering.
Oh, really?
Waste management.
What? You don't have to tell me the company, but I worked for a lift company for 7 years in the marketing department.
Right.
And let me tell you, it is the hardest thing to try and make sound sexy. A lift. Like at one point I was designing like the sales collateral for like the handrail in a lift. really strange that I did not know that you were doing this lift, this elevator. Actually, it's in America, isn't it? Elevator, voice over work, because
everything, ships, you name it.
Just all sorts of
electromagnetic fields.
Your voice is all over the place.
Yeah.
In fact, I remember. Do you remember I messaged you because I heard you on TV as I was cooking eggs? I was scrambling eggs.
I do remember, because it was a Sunday morning, wasn't it?
And I was like,
That's funny.
I ran into the living room. I tried to get a little bit of it, but it ended. I don't even know what it was advertising, but I know that tone so well now because we've worked together. But
do you know what? I mean, obviously, for me, it's just my work, and not sounding ungrateful and unappreciative, because I absolutely appreciate all the work, but it is one after another.
Yeah.
So I do tend to forget.
Yeah,
absolutely. What I've worked on.
I'm the same with videos.
Yeah.
Sometimes I'll look back at our portfolio and I'm like, I know. I forgot we did that.
Yeah.
Especially if you're putting a brief together for a new client, it's important to know. We recently pitched for some work in sports, in football, and we've had quite a few clients that have been related to football or in some way had a footballer in it, or however you want to put it. And I had to really wrap my memory to go through. I had to go through the portfolio. I couldn't think off the top of my head. But that means we're doing something right.
Well, I'd like to think so. Yeah, because I do look at the world map sometimes. I have this digital world map where the minute there is a significant client from that, I colour it.
Yeah.
And I think I'm there's world dominance of 67% now.
Oh,
so
it's beating me.
Is it?
Yeah, well, I bought the map where you scratch it off. When you visited, you scratch it off.
Oh, that's so cool. So which client you've worked with?
Yeah.
I love that.
I've never been to Asia. I've been to every continent. Antarctica is a continent, isn't it? Yeah. So I've obviously not worked there. I mean, there's obviously video work there.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
I'm sure there is. 100%. There's got to be. But no, not been taken to Antarctica yet, unfortunately.
Man, that would be an amazing
or Asia. So
project.
They're the two. And then I've done every continent.
Well, you'll have to hit up Sony? Who have you got? Sony?
Well, we film on Sony's, so maybe we could get a word in. Yeah.
I love it. I absolutely love looking at my map, because then I have to think back. Oh gosh,
how lucky we've been to.
I'm in this retail park in Dubai. I've covered Singapore.
Oh wow.
Australia, I don't have any coverage.
I went to Sydney. I went to Sydney for 3 days, so it took as long to get there and back as it did to film. Yeah. But the schedule meant that I couldn't stay any longer.
But this is the glamorous part of our jobs.
Yeah.
And I think this is what attracts people initially to it.
Yeah.
And the getting in, and also this is what I wanted to ask you actually, because for my line of work, the entry requirements is 0.
Yeah.
You can just decide tomorrow, I want to be voiceover.
Yeah.
And just get started.
Yeah. There might be a few bumps where you have to,
get some equipment, or, get some clients. But it's just I've decided, it's not like you want to be an astronaut, you have to do X, Y, Z, you want to be a doctor, you want to be a vet,
absolutely.
You want to be an accountant. You have all these entry level requirements where you need some knowledge, right?
Yeah.
My line of work's not like that. But we've talked about the competitiveness and how, dog eat dog it is, but actually the flip side of it, that's also the beauty of our work, that we can take it anywhere. And make any type of business out of it. And if you decided that, I only want to film, super fans, comic book, gaming. Do you know what I mean?
Don't tempt me, I'd quit tomorrow.
But you could.
Yeah,
if that was your focus. And if I had decided, right, I only want to be known as this.
Yeah.
We could. And there's not many careers that allow us this type of autonomy.
There's a videographer a video production company that only does dentist videos. He is the go-to videographer for dentist video production.
Yeah.
Because he knows the industry inside out. He's got all the right lenses for the intricate little thing, everything about it, you name it. And it's because dentists talk to each other. They go to conferences, don't they? And they're all together and they say, oh, I love that video you did. What was his name? And that's how he grew his business.
Yeah.
We're not there yet. We're still kind of doing a bit of everything. I mean, the closest we got to that was probably the Microsoft community, which we bang on about it all the time because we're so proud of it. It was
that looked so much fun.
It was so much fun, and obviously various reasons have meant that that's kind of on hold at the moment, which is what we go back to earlier, talking about having to readjust and adapt. But no, it's funny you should bring up elevators, because I just want to get this in. My first ever video that I did, I always did video as a hobby, right? And I had the little handheld Sony cam that I used to film family things, weddings and things like that, but nothing more than that. One day I'm working for the marketing department of this lift company, and I think my boss knows that I'm into video. And I'd just actually, the company had paid me to go to Leicester College and do a photography course, because at the time I was like, well, I kind of know video. I want to know more about photography. And that works really well because you learn the intricate details of a camera, a DSLR camera, which helped me further in my career when I started doing video professionally. But at the time, I'd never done anything professionally. I still only had this little rickety Sony Handycam. And my boss said to me, right, one of our clients wants the video, so you're going to go down to Canary Wharf and film this video for them. But he didn't tell me I'm going to do, he asked me. Of course, I bit his hand off, because I was like, oh, wow, this is incredible. So the two of us traveled to Canary Wharf. It ended up being the Barclays building. So, straight in at the deep end.
Yeah.
And I'm filming this training video for this new lift that they'd had installed. And it was crazy. And I rewatched recently some of that old footage, and I can hear myself directing, and it's no different. Like, I don't know, it's crazy. Obviously you look back on how you began, but that was my light bulb moment. It was like, up to that point, I've been doing marketing for lifts, and, it was hard work. Now, suddenly I'm being paid to film and edit something, which is what I do for fun outside of work. And it was just, I've never looked back. So it's crazy that you should know. Obviously, it's not the same company. We've established that off camera, but one of our competitors. Yes. Because there's not that many lift companies.
Oh, I just love those moments, because as hard as work is sometimes, and you have to deal with you have to deal with budgets and people being off sick and location issues and all sorts of things. I just love those moments where you just feel like, oh, this is what I've been put on this planet for. And I remember when I was flown out to the States for 2 weeks, and I had to just check. Let me just check what I'm being flown out for. They literally just said, we'll brief you when you get here on all the content that we want you to put out on camera and behind the mic. But we really hired you to be you. And I was thinking, I'm getting paid,
It's just for 2 weeks in the States.
5 figures to be me.
Yeah.
Are you mad?
But that's it. Obviously, you've done a good job of marketing yourself and getting yourself out there. You get to a stage where it's like, God, at one end, it's like the hardest career ever because of the competition. Yeah. And because of the learning curve as well. And then on the other hand, it's a dream job. Yeah. And you kind of toggle between the two all the time, don't you? Yeah. One day you're just like, I don't want to do this anymore. I want a proper job where I get paid, not... I don't want to travel anymore. I've done it.
I'm bored of trying to work out, childcare and
hotels.
Who picks up who. Never seeing your friends. Hanging about with work all the time, talking about work all the time. And then versus like, oh, I'm living the dream. Yeah. And it's just, it's brilliant. I mean, I couldn't think of anything better. I couldn't imagine doing anything else.
I recently edited a video podcast for one of our presenters that we work with. And it was all about mental health, and it was with I don't know if you know Mo Gadat, he used to be the CEO of Google. Technically, might not be true. It's something in Google at the top. And he did an amazing interview with her about mental health and about taking the pressure off yourself. And it was just unhappiness, how to get away from unhappiness. I'm editing this, not just editing it, I'm listening to it. It's changing my life. I felt so strongly about it. And obviously that worked. She was absolutely delighted because, it's not even gone out to the public yet. And here I am
passionate
about
content.
Yeah. And I'm being paid to edit this. It just felt great. It was like we did some workout videos recently, which are all part of an on-demand service. And here's me thinking, I've got this for free now. I can do some workout videos.
There's loads of pluses. Yeah.
Forget Apple.
I feel like sometimes when I'm at a dinner party, not that there's that many these days, but when I am out, with a group of people, because of the just array of topics that I cover, that I probably could just for 5 minutes, sit with maybe a nuclear scientist, and then chop over to a beautician. And then just be like, oh, I know a little bit about what you do. And I know about your industry, and know a little bit about what you do as well, but master of none of it. I just know about that.
No, that's good.
Because of my line of work. And
I think it's very similar when you cover that sort of broad
and
variety.
Sometimes you see trend before the change. Because I remember when I was copywriting, and suddenly hearing a lot of commercial work going onto social media, because you have to remember, before social media, people were paying for broadcasts on TV, radio, and
billboards.
That's all there was. Wasn't there? So unless you had massive budgets to do video, that was it for you.
That was it.
And then social media just changed. Everything.
I remember the value of video production dropping to this it was also the accessibility to the better cameras. So when DSLR prices started to drop, so that more people could do it, it wasn't just a hobby anymore. A lot more video production companies popped up. And we were lucky enough. The previous company I worked at, we were right on that. Facebook Live was a brand new thing. That kind of that's at that time. When video was and we were all being encouraged. Go on and do live videos and get people's faces.
Get the algorithm recognizing the topics that you're covering.
That for me,
100%.
That represented that slight change. Don't get me wrong, video production had become a lot cheaper before that, but that was the social media age was coming in where it rules.
Because I was copywriting for traditional brochures, for a finance company, for websites, and it became suddenly, could you just do a quick script? Just tab on, what's the script for? Oh, just a quick video that we're doing.
For social media.
Okay. And then I was like, what do you do with it? We send it off to this agency. The agency finds a voice. And then the voice goes on, I could be that voice. I could probably, what is it? What is it that you need to read? And that's literally how I started.
Evolved. And that's something that's now part of every video we do now. It comes with social media snippet, a short, long and short. It's almost it's not even asked for anymore. It's expected that there's a social media
we are seeing the end of Facebook?
I can't stand it. I probably shouldn't say that on a podcast that might be going out on there.
Who's on it anymore? But you don't need Facebook to market your podcast.
You absolutely don't.
Because that's not where podcast listeners hang out.
And it's so odd that when we discussed launching the Videography Network as a group, we immediately went to Facebook. But then as soon as we actually started doing the groundwork, it's like, why are we here? Again, don't know if this is getting ahead of ourselves. It might still end up on Facebook, but I looked at LinkedIn and I looked at just, there's also a really good platform called Circle. It's an external, it's away from social media, and it's a social platform just for you, like a community tool that you can use, which is possibly the route we're going to go down.
I've heard of it.
It's meant to be really good. Only peeked at it at the moment, but it looks like the one. We could do a podcast on just why Facebook is. For me, a lot of the court cases in America, as soon as that became public, as soon as you saw, especially the senators, they just did not understand what they were talking about. They were like my granddad, literally talking about Facebook like they had no clue. And that's where I've known it was dodgy, and I know they're listening and they're showing us what we want to see and all that. So that I'm kind of okay with that in a way. I understand why people aren't. But then when I saw what those senators were talking about and how absolutely oblivious they were to the world of technology, that scared me, to not trust any social media. But
I think it's been very telling that they've changed their name to Meta. And they're definitely moving away from this social platform now. And they will. Eventually they will be the kings of the metaverse.
Absolutely. Listen, we could go on all day, but we'll wrap up with one more question, and that is, for any aspiring voiceover artists out there, what would your advice be if they're just starting out where you were? Maybe they're a copywriter who's coming across like you did. What would you say?
I would say to save a lot of pain, and it's difficult to do because I know at the beginning you want to take on any work, no matter what. I would say really hone in on your interests, where, you know, maybe it's a certain type of industry, or maybe it's just a topic. It doesn't even matter. Or maybe like a media, you know, you love books, you love to read, books is your thing. Or, you know, you're great at accents, and it's, you know, try to be niche straight away, because you're going to be niche eventually, to save you all that headache of, you know, perhaps you get yourself a voice coach, or perhaps you get a mentor and, you know, put your business plan together on how to reach clients, you know, to save yourself the headache. If you niche early on, you'll just be able to focus so much more on the type of clients that you want, the type of projects that you want to do. And it just saves you so much time reaching out to people, because as you know, a lot of our time is spent chasing work, looking for work.
If you're just out there going, right, who needs a video, who needs a voiceover, it's
everybody.
Yeah, everyone could do with one, but it's about catching them at the right time if you go at it like that. Whereas if you become the expert in your industry, going back to the dentist videography guy, you know, it makes sense. You're only marketing towards one person, really, one avatar, as they say.
I'll tell you now, Adam, and I'm just like, touch wood, grateful. Thank you, universe. I don't do any marketing anymore.
Wow.
0.
That's the goal, I guess.
That is the goal.
The long-term goal.
I'm just known as the fintech voice.
Yeah.
And whenever there's a new AI product, new VR product,
they're drawn to you. Yeah.
It's to me. The agents know that. My agents know that. The clients know that.
Fantastic.
And that's my work. Just luckily, 7 years on, just comes in now. And it's no longer a call on a Tuesday. Can you do it on a Wednesday? I plan my months out, my weeks out. I get on calls with the clients, and, you know, I come in from, you know, conception all the way through to delivery. And it's just a completely different business for me from when I first started, which was just like a headless chicken. Yeah. Auditioning 15 times a day, sending out demos
for
everywhere.
peanuts.
For peanuts, and also for criticism as well. Is what the one thing, you know, you've got to have really thick skin in this industry, because the voice isn't always right. Your price isn't always right. Your technology sometimes isn't always right. You don't have ISDN. That mic's not the right mic. Yeah. I need, you know, sometimes you're just in the wrong time zone. Yeah. You know, that's just not the time the client's available. I'm sorry, just can't book you. Yeah. So all these things, they really eat at your confidence, especially when you're first starting. That if you just eliminate all that, go in with confidence, you can do this, but actually just have a think about who you are first, you know, where your love is, where your passion is. Because at the end of the day, when you are one of thousands of voices, the client can tell when you're in it or you're not. Yeah. Always. Because when you're hard to reach, you don't really get back to your emails, you know, you seem to be kind of vague, they'll move on to somebody else, because there's always someone else knocking on their door. Whereas if you're really engaged in the topics and you really want to understand what it is that they're trying to convey or sell, or, you know, or say or deliver, you know, the clients they feel that from you. And I guess from early days on, if you are doing something that you're kind of interested in, you've got, you know, this might be a hobby or an interest in some way, that you have that, naturally you will be into the product, and that comes across well in those because we're still in the game of people liking people. Yeah. Because that you know, we've covered like technology and, you know, the metaverse and all sorts of things in this conversation, but essentially it's just me and you. Yeah. Isn't it? Yeah. And if you can just have that connection with that other person that so happens to be paying your invoices, like you just make your life so much easier, and you enjoy it. And the few years that we've been through, if you cannot enjoy your days, then I don't see the point. Yeah. What is the point? So, Vonnie, thank you so much for coming on the podcast. Thank you very much for having me. It's been great. It's been fun. We've covered quite a lot, and I think we could have carried on all day, but we'll have to end it here. It's certainly been more fun than the last time we were together, because it was the Euros final where England. It was. It started off such a great afternoon, didn't it? It really did. Barbecue, hot tub. You hosted a lovely barbecue. Thank you. I'll take my housemate was probably more
involved in that part, but I'll take the credit. And then, so we were beaten on penalties.
That was so miserable. I mean, we started off like so high.
Oh.
The whole afternoon was amazing. There was music blasting.
Yeah. And then it was just dead. Everyone went home and I was left.
Literally, the minute we lost,
Yeah.
everyone just legged it out the front door.
The final penalty kick went in, I looked around and everyone was gone. That was that.
I think your house was at one point like full of like 20 people.
Yeah.
And then within a minute,
gone.
Everyone just left.
Yeah.
You were just left.
But that's life, isn't it? We've always got the World Cup in the winter to look forward to.